Hey guys, welcome to AJS. In today's video, we will talk about Karmic Astrology. What actually is the Karmic Astrology? Let's break it down into multiple parts. Karmic, karmas, right? Karmas shouldn't be an ancient term to all the people back from the east, because in some of the old, like the Hindu mythologies, this has been frequently referenced in all the ancient texts, and now is not alien even uh, in the west as well. So there used to be a reference and there used to be a story, like in the case of Mahabharata, which is one of the very sacred texts. Arjun was told by Krishna, Lord Krishna, that this is your karma kshetra, dharma kshetra. So, what actually does it mean when it say karmas? And do the planets in a horoscope suggest anything about our past lives? Reincarnation, past lives are something very common in the Hindu mythology. It is said that based on your past life, good and the bad deeds, that is, like karmas that you have done, the soul takes a birth and you accordingly do or the karmas that you are supposed to do in this lifetime. And based on the karmas or the work that you are doing or you have done, accordingly you have to bear the fruits of that, right? So in astrology, what are some of the factors that can suggest what actually is the karmic debt that we are supposed to pay in this lifetime, or what are some of the lessons that the soul is supposed to learn in this birth? There are multiple factors, and this is going to be a series of that. One among them is the 12th house or the house of karma, right? This 12th house, it denotes all the experiences from your past life. You can also know how you died in the past life. What could have been the last wish or thought in the past life that created a native in this life? And it also shows the karma of attachment. The 12th house, because like between 1 to 12 house, it starts from your ascendant, and 12th is the last house, right? So this house, it represents, just like moon's conjunction, something that is behind us. But in terms of our body, ascendant, whereas moon indicates something that is behind us in terms of soul. The 12th house, it also describes the experience of our existence. It represents the house of the end, because 12th house is the end. It shows the death in the past life. How? Eighth house from the fifth. And entire life is contained in the end of life. The strongest emotions are, very prominent in it, as well as the most significant events of that life. As it is said, before you die, there is a small recap. It goes in very fast of all the core events in your life, right? So, something that we can see from the 12th house. Hence, it indicates very concisely what is the most significant experience of the past life. What is the most dominant category of that life? That is the experience of death in one's life, which contains in itself the whole life. That means reaching the point of absolute, where one is reduced to the point in which there is no way to avoid what one truly is, because that point represents one's own essence. The 12th house also indicates the way of death in the past life, the way how one's life ended. This house is interpreted as the house of fears and eventual psychological instability. Exactly, because it was the death in the past life, and because one was afraid of passing through that eighth house, which is currently the 12th. If a person had a powerful, dramatic experience of death, then this is the reason for their current fears, often inexplicable ones. Symbolics of the planet describing the way of death in the past life is what a native is consciously, unconsciously afraid of in this life. The experience of death is frequently traumatic for the souls unprepared for passing through the eighth house. The eighth house leads one to the point that actually represents complete life, because complete life is related to the three states of order and three states of aggregation. When the three lives, the past, present, and future, are united into one, when conception, birth, and death are connected in one point, there is a basis for completely new frequency of living, for a complete new plane of existence that is called liberation. These experiences always occur in those watery points, and if a soul is not prepared for that, it experiences this as a fear. And it is blocked by that powerful energy, and since it is about the point, a soul cannot see what had been or what will be. That energy is very powerful, and it is shaping a person in a way. It could be compared to that energy which is felt at night, just before you fall asleep, when one receives a strong affirmation, whether it's a result of a prayer or something else. It is so powerful that it seems to be real, just like an experience, the experience of death. The 12th house also represents the last thought, the last image, the last wish from the past life. This is the most powerful energy containing the essence of past, your previous life, because 12th is 8th from 5th. That last thought before death is just like the last thought before we fall asleep, containing the essence of relieving that day, or like an imagined wish that materializes if thought is powerful enough. One is determined by the 12th house because the first house originates from the 12th. If there is something wrong about the 12th house or the psyche, then the energy represented by the first house and current life are unlikely to be easy or of high quality, and possibilities that one has to reach consciousness and accomplish its potentials become minor. The 12th house is determined by powerful energies. If one remains attached to something and one is attached to everything that is in the 12th house. Therefore, if it is about a malefic planet, then one remains attached to fears. Attachment represents a category of the 12th house. Whether one is tied as a slave or one is in hospital, or a prison, or if one is attached to some things or some powerful experiences. If a native was strongly convinced to be the greatest, the strongest, the most powerful personality, that certainly gives a powerful son. But in this life, it is placed in the 12th house, which is fed as a loss. Or, in other words, that energy remained attached in the past life dimension. And in this life, it could exactly indicate the limitation in that symbolics, because this person in his past life did not allow that energy to flow. Now, one of the important laws is that the flowing circulation of energy must not be prevented. It must not be binded, because if that happens, it is imprisoned and it remains in the 12th house. There are prisoners, thrown into chains in the 12th house. And everything that exists in the 12th house indicates what a native is attached to. The 12th house symbolizes an extremely powerful energy which remain attached somewhere, that could be too intensive fear which functions as an enemy in this life, because now this person is blocked, is paralyzed, with no strength to move or act. The karma of the 12th house is not prominent for everyone, meaning that the 12th house is not always prominent in a horoscope. No planets in the 12th house, no prominent place ruler in the 12th house in a chart. The planets placed on a cusp of the 12th house is the most prominent thing from this house, and it has priority in giving description of a native and represent what a native is strongly attached to. Often, this planet also symbolizes the gender of a native in his previous incarnation. The powerful Mars on the cusp of the 12th house certainly refers to someone who used to feel as strong, brave, and therefore it indicates masculine gender. It also indicates the energies one was attached to: might, strength. Now, depending on how that planet is placed in a chart, a native could be frightened, especially if his position is poor, because it symbolizes a way the life was ended violently, dramatically, and that caused fears. Another powerful indicator of the 12th house karma is the ruler of the 12th house. And the third indicator represents the planet's place somewhere in the 12th house, that is, not on its cusp. Everything else describes what was happening. So, the most significant information given by this house is how prominent is the karma of attachment. So, guys, that's all I have for today on this karma series. If you like this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments, please add it in the comment section below. Thanks for joining me.